Always remember, the opinion you follow should be your own. Just consider the things stated here to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online.
What's going on, Mike? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Phil, and everybody out there listening. Excited to be here for another episode of Random Waypoints today. And I apologize in advance if I start coughing in the middle of this thing. I had a bag of popcorn before we started, and I don't know if I've lodged a popcorn kernel inside my throat or what, but I keep coughing. So we'll see what happens.
All right. So, Mike, let's get right to it with the serious stuff.
Oh, gosh.
Here we go. Mike.
All right.
You got a young man that trusts your advice, and he comes to you and asks a straight question.
Okay.
What should my budget be for first dates? A hard number, no exceptions, no matter who it is or what the situation is. What's the number? So, Mike, what's the number you'd give him as the standard budget for a first date?
Oh, God. You're asking a bunch of old guys on a podcast this question?
Well, last week you flew into San Diego. You had some sticker shock,
right?
So I'm thinking now that you're in touch a little bit with how expensive it is. If somebody, maybe a good friend of yours, his son, an adult son, comes to you because he thinks you're a man's man, and he asks you, "Hey, I'm dating now. I'm looking for the right one, but I'm dating. It can get pretty expensive. What's the number? What's the budget?"
Well, I don't know if there's a number, but my advice from an old guy would be that I don't want to sound cliche. It's not about the money, right? Like, don't go on a date where you can't talk. So don't be going to the movies. Don't go to, I don't do it. People go to the movies anymore? Probably not. Don't a concert is not really a great thing. So having said that, probably is this a first date?
These are first dates. This is a young man.
First date, I'd ease into it. Okay. So
not a first date. He's dating.
Okay.
He is looking. He's open to more.
Well, so it probably involves going out for coffee or going out to dinner or lunch or some kind of, probably eating is involved in this, right? So I'm not trying not to answer your question. I'm just trying to understand.
Well, I'll tell you what I would tell him.
Okay.
$100 is what you plan for. Your budget is $150.
So and that's covering two people.
Right.
Yeah. Because I don't think you can go. Let's put it this way. I don't think you're realistically going out for even, and I'm not talking extravagant, but if you're going out for just a meal, let's just say, and you go and you both get an entree, maybe you share an app, get a drink or two. I mean, you're in that 100, 150 ballpark right there.
Quick.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Phil, we talked about this before, but I think it was last year, Overland Expo somewhere. You and I think we went to, I don't know, it was like a food truck or a fast food or something. It's like $60 for two of us,
No alcohol.
That's with no alcohol. Exactly. It's crazy.
So the reason why I say 100, you plan for 100, but your budget is 150. The reason why I have those two numbers is because I think 100 is a good budget, but you should have room for, if there's something you like or something you want to do, 50 more bucks in the budget.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think that $100 on a first date is a fair amount, because I think that I'm more into the psychology of the dollar amount than the budget.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, I would be telling him to stick to a number like that, is because you want to have fun,
right?
And you don't want to be a cheap or an asshole.
No.
Okay.
No.
But you do not want to be, the goal is not to impress her. I'm telling you what I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The goal on a first date is not to impress her. The goal
and that's kind of where I was leading when I was saying that, you should be focused on, learning about each other and talking or whatever. Right. So yeah, like the last thing you want to be doing is rolling up in your private jet and rolling out red carpet like that. That's. I mean, the date's going to go well for all the wrong reasons.
Well, it depends upon what you mean by go well, because today's young ladies, if they don't like you, they'll let you roll all that out and then be like, okay, that was a great time. So that's another reason I'm not going all out on the first one, and I don't know what the return on my investment is. But the main reason I gave that number and that it is because I want to qualify you whether or not you're worth me spending more and doing more. And if you are a quality person, you will not be pocket watching me like that. I mean, I am spending about $150.
Right.
If I need to go beyond that, you're on something else.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Which is a very common thing where single women, they basically eat every night with a different dude. You're their refrigerator. So I say 100.
I'm so far out of this dating scene here that I don't know. I believe you when you say it.
I didn't do none of this when I was dating. I'm not going to get into it, but I didn't have none of these problems.
Modern times.
Yeah, this is modern times.
Thanks for joining us today on Random Dating Points.
So did you ever come up with a number, Mike?
Well, yes. Based on what you're saying, I would agree with that because that's realistic. I was talking to somebody I think I was talking to my brother the other day, and he's just talking about going out, two people going out. He's in the Boston area, but going out, which is an expensive area, of course, but going out with two people just for the night, just regular. We're not talking like high end. You're into it for all of that, anyways. It's just a reality.
Mike, I've spent over $100 at a hotel bar by myself.
Oh, for sure.
Just went downstairs to not be lonely.
Yep, that's right.
Mike, big moves in D.C. this week as world leaders gathered to hash out a plan for the Ukraine conflict. But while the White House and European allies pushed for a quick resolution, Vladimir Putin doubled down with a hardline stance, one that could drag this war out and leave the West scrambling for answers. Mike, do you think Putin's strategy is a power play or a dead end? Given the pressure from both the U.S. and Europe for a fast diplomatic solution, what do you make of Putin's refusal to bend? Is it calculated strength or is it reckless stubbornness? What's your prescription on this, Mike? So
the war is a no-win situation for a number of reasons, and I think I've said some of them before here, maybe not all of them. Number one, the motivation to end the war. There's not a lot of motivation on the part of many of the players. And by the way, when I say that, I mean, I'm talking about the United States. I'm talking about Europe. I'm talking about Russia. I'm talking about all of and I'm going to tell you why. So the only motivation to end the war, truthfully, is the people, the civilians on the ground that are being affected by this. But the motivation from the standpoint of the United States and quite frankly, Europe is over time, this is weakening Russia, who is our longtime adversary. So the more money that we dump in, and we continue to dump into Ukraine by providing them weapons and planes and drones and reconnaissance and everything else that we're providing, is weakening Russia. Okay, and So if this war continues on and on and on and on, it's a good thing from a political standpoint from the United States, right? It makes us that much more powerful over the rest of the world. Number one. And by the way, Europe talks a strong game about trying to end the war, but the reality is they have the same exact outlook on this behind the scenes, because Europe doesn't want Russia to be strong either. They want them to be weak as well. And then if you turn this around, Russia doesn't really have any real motivation to end the war, because quite frankly, they're winning. Slowly they're winning from a perspective of taking land and placing their people and troops inside these territories. They're winning. Mm-hmm. And they've got a lot of people, and now they're employing people in the military from North Korea, and who knows, next it'll be China and Mongolia, wherever else they can find people, Kazakhstan and different places. So at the end of the day, all the players that are involved, I don't think there's a motivation to end the war.
Well, Mike, you already know I'm a conspiracy theorist. I think sinister things about politics, and I absolutely think a world leader is probably the worst person in the world. The person, and I mean all world leaders.
Yeah.
So I don't put nothing past them. That's all a lead up to say that I wouldn't be surprised if all of this meeting was just to figure out how to extend the war with fewer losses and making more money. I believe that literally they were like, well, we can't keep killing people, but that's about the only thing that was, but we can still keep destroying stuff and rebuilding it. And, they want to keep the war machine going because it's profitable.
Money.
So I think this is all to just extend it. Like right now, them having the meetings is extending it, because even though there may not be any bombs being dropped or any bullets or whatever, you still have man hours going on of different militaries. You still have gas running, diesel fuel in these vehicles and different machines or whatever. So there's money being made even with them at a standstill, but still prepared for war. Being prepared for war costs money.
The other thing I would mention is the only motivation, other than the civilians that are getting killed to end the war, would be on the part of narcissistic Donald Trump, in a sense that because he wants to win a Nobel Peace Prize or something, he's got this weird thing about how he's been walking around preaching that he's ended 7 wars and whatnot. So there's an ego thing built into the Trump thing to end it. And quite frankly, Putin, he has probably some personal reasons that maybe to end it, because eventually he's losing some popularity inside his own country with so many people dying. And his motivation is to make some, because I heard this come out the other day, they want to set terms to make a ceasefire and to eventually, call the end of the war. And one of them, I think Putin wants, is that he doesn't want to be held as a war criminal, right? He wants to be able to travel to countries that he really can't go to right now. So there's some weird personal ego things going on behind the scenes as well.
Yeah, he almost crapped his pants when them B-2s flew over Alaska.
That's right. I don't know. I mean, that's a tough one. I mean, I think that I think there's a lot of people, including Americans, think that they want the war to end, right? Because from a humanitarian standpoint, and by having these meetings, it's making it look like we're trying.
Right. So Mike, I want to touch on something you were talking about Donald Trump, wanting to, win the Nobel Peace Prize and all of that. Mm-hmm. So I'm about to answer a question that maybe nobody had about, why I'm for Trump. And this is it. early on, and I'm talking about the first when he was president, the first term. I learned early on, I sensed from him early on, even in the presidential debates leading up to his first term, he's not into war. He don't like war. He doesn't want to be involved in war. And the thing that I liked about when he was president the first term was we didn't have no war. Mike, my signature, whenever I talk to anybody, I don't say bye. What do I say? I say peace.
Mm-hmm.
That's a important thing to me. I ain't got that much longer here, and I want peace. I don't want to live through no wars. So what I'm getting to about Trump is, I've always sensed, even before this term, that he's not a warmonger. He don't want to be involved in war. And I'm all for a president who aspires to win a Nobel Peace Prize specifically for peace. Now, if it was for something else, I may delve into how narcissistic that idea is. But if your narcissism drives you to peace, to benevolence, to philanthropy, to taking care of people or anything like that, I ain't got nothing bad to say about you. I support you.
So the reality is that I agree with you. He is definitely against war. And you got to remember, part of that comes from his background. So Donald Trump, by definition, is a builder. And by definition, war is destroying things. So he's a builder. He's the art of the deal, right? He wants to bring people together to build things and to work together, ultimately, for regardless of whether you like the guy or not. I mean, maybe it's for the benefit of him or the benefit of wealthy people, whatever. But at the end of the day, he wants to build things. So, when he comes out and says, "Hey, we want to build resorts all along in the Gaza Strip," he's not making that up. Like he would rather be building resorts there than having a war going on. I
want to give him even more credit, Mike, because there are lots of other people who have a builder's mentality, same as him, but they'll see a coastline and they be like, we could put a submarine building harbor here. We could put a military. They totally think totally different things.
See, his background is in think about it, hotels, casinos, gathering places, restaurants, stuff that brings people together. Or not.
Yeah, he started out.
He's not a war guy.
Residential buildings.
Yeah, he's not a war guy. It's just the bottom line. He's just not.
So I get it. If you a Democrat or a liberal or whatever, I ain't telling you not to be against Trump no more. Right. But man, when a person aspires towards some things, you are supposed to just give love to it. Like I remember one time we were talking about the little boy who's dying of cancer that was at the house thing and how they booed him. Yeah. There's just certain things where if that happens or a person says that or does that, no matter what side you on, you're supposed to heap praise on them.
Right.
And so, hey, dog him out about everything else if you want, but give him credit for wanting a peaceful world.
So it's interesting you say that. I read an interesting article that was written by CNN, and CNN obviously tends to left lean. And it was talking about, did he really stop? Because he's claiming that he solved 7 wars right now. And they analyze each and every one of them. And the reality is that 5 of the 7, he was fairly instrumental in creating a peace situation. May not be permanent peace, may not be maybe your definition of ending a war, but he got involved in the India, Pakistan. He got involved in the Myanmar and Burma thing. He got involved in Congo and Rwanda. He got, so there's been a bunch. He's not making that up. Like they have literally basically put their foot down. And I say it's his administration has said, look, we'll make some deal with you guys if you stop now. You know what I mean? Like
4 of the 6 wars you've had one of the sides of the war come out and say that he had something to do with it. Yep. Two of them have denied that.
That's right.
But if you know what's going on with all 6 of these wars, and some people say 7, it's just like if you're in the playground, Mike, and I'm bullying you, and there's another guy that just walks up. He doesn't stop the fight, but you know to shut it down when he walks in.
Yes.
He get credit for stopping the fight?
And exactly. Actually, that's a great example, Phil, because that's kind of, in most of these cases, that's kind of what we did. We kind of stood over him, looked at him, and gave him that stern look and said, guys, stop. And they, went their little ways and whatever. So
exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, yep. And let me contrast this for those of you out there that maybe are left leaning, that are like, oh God, here goes Phil and Mike on the Trump train. I mean, let's compare it for a second to George Bush's administration with Dick Cheney. So you could argue that they loved war, right? I mean, Dick Cheney lived for military, lived for war, lived for those things. It's not an argument. So, and that's the Republican side. So there is a huge contrast between Donald Trump administration and, say, a George Bush administration. I agree with you, Phil. He legit would like to see all of them end. And that's why I said during this Ukraine-Russia thing, I think the America doesn't really want the war to end. And when I say America, I mean the powers that be in the military and behind the scenes at the Pentagon and whatnot. They think the war is great for us because it's weakening Russia. The problem is that Donald Trump, not being a guy, not being a war guy, is not really on their team. I think he legitimately is like, let's just end this shit. Because he's thinking about how do we bring McDonald's back to Moscow? You know what I mean? And how do we get rid of all this? Because he's thinking business-minded stuff and making a deal with everybody.
And a little history here, Mike. I know you know the answer to this. Who was the last president who appeared to be a peace president and didn't want to go to war and was verbal about it? And what happened to him? It's JFK.
Yeah, really.
And they've tried, people are talking about all these other things. I believe that him coming in and being a peacetime president, that's why he got shot at so many times.
It's not good for business. Government business.
Right. I mean, think about it. He had almost every week somebody was trying to shoot him.
Yep.
Not only if you were keeping up, not only were there a couple of times that a person actually got off a bullet, there are a bunch of times they got a person before he got set up.
Yeah.
And we immediately think, oh, this is some crazy leftist or whatever. But in my mind, it's not out of the weeds to think that it could be the war machine trying to kill him.
Yep.
And he's got to watch it. He literally could be the next JFK, man.
Sure, because there's a lot of people out there in our government or in our subcontractors from the government that make a lot of. Look at DC. You live there. Look at DC. The wealth around DC is because of defense. It's because of government. Largely got to do with defense and war, right,
bro? I mean, the name of the city right outside of DC, where all of the businesses is done about war and military and everything. You know what the name of the city is? Crystal City.
Oh yeah,
because it's such a glamorous. Because minus those buildings, it's a glamorous little area. It's right on the water.
Yep.
The point I'm making is, that's where the money is. And don't nobody want to give it up. And it's like, he could literally, with these decisions, with these moves, we're not talking about people losing thousands or just a job, or even millions, or we're talking about $1 trillion changes. Yeah. We've reached a point where these things are trillions of dollars. So just one last time, I just want to say, I'm not willing to argue back and forth with anybody on any side of the fence about this particular point about war and him peace. If you're against him for wanting peace, then F you.
Yeah, exactly. You're nuts. You're nuts. Right. Agreed.
Mike, we're looking at a tragic case that highlights the deadly cost of weak immigration enforcement. Harjinger Singh, an illegal immigrant, is accused of causing a crash that killed 3 innocent people. He failed basic English and road safety tests, answering just 2 of 12 verbal questions and recognizing only 1 traffic sign. Yet, he was still behind the wheel. Mike, isn't this proof that weak immigration enforcement is costing lives?
Well, Phil, for sure. I mean, it doesn't. You know how I like charts, and I almost sent you a chart before this podcast. But I found this interesting thing. I don't think people understand. And the one thing I want to outline that you've heard us bitch and moan about Biden and his weak border policy, but if you actually look at statistics and numbers, it was astronomical how bad his border policy was. I mean, it went up so significantly under Biden, particularly in his last 2 years, that it was. They're saying now. I think it came out yesterday. There's 14 million illegal immigrants in the United States, or undocumented. 14 million, right? So that I think that accounts for almost 4%, 3.9% of the population, or something like that. So it's a pretty big number. A 1.5% of that, so almost half of it, came in under Biden. That's how bad this was. This is look, immigration has been a problem for a long time, but in comparison to the rest of history, it was just astronomically bad. And what I really would like somebody to answer the question, why? I legit don't understand why, because
Mike, I can tell you exactly why. It's real
but it's
simple.
but it's a conspiracy theory.
It's not even a conspiracy theory. It's what it is. Seriously.
Okay, what is it?
The Democratic Party, basically their ideologies, the social issues that they choose to fight for, the image that they want to be perceived as being, it's important for them to look as though they are fighting for the little man, for the small person or whatever. And what has happened in America is that Black people and Latin people, which were their prime target, have matured in this society, have learned and understood more about how things are going, and they've just looked and reflected on their own lives, and they're no longer able to attract them the way that they used to.
Mm.
The ether is gone. They're not under their drunken spell anymore.
Yep.
So they have to get a new group of people who will fit that definition of the poor people, the minority, the lesser than, the treated bad. And so in order to do that, they got to get millions of new people from another country. Because anybody who's lived here over a period of time is starting to realize, everything the Democrats stand for, they on some bullshit.
Well, you saw that during the last election. I mean, Donald Trump picked up almost every demographic that there was out there. But let me ask you this question. So, okay, let's go with that theory that's true. Mm-hmm. Why didn't they make it so they came in legally? Why didn't they just reduce the restrictions? You know what I mean? Rather than just open the border up and say, guys, walk across the border. Well, why didn't they just make it so freaking easy to become an immigrant?
The American public wouldn't have digested it the same. It's a whole different storyline. We romanticize things when we make our decisions. When we hear that it's just a bunch of people that want to come here and they're filling out applications and processing their way in. We're like, oh, no, slow that down, whatever. But when you hear it's all of these people who are running from their country because they're being treated bad by the political process and they're refugees, then, our Christian hearts pour out to them and we're like, it's a different mindset. We accept them actually better as an illegal immigrant than when they come in legal.
Interesting. So
are you familiar with the DACA kids?
Yeah. Well, this is a good example.
That's all that is.
Yeah, that's a good example. Yeah. And that, by the way, a lot of those numbers came in that way.
That's what I'm telling you.
And they're undocumented now or illegal because there was a time window involved in it, right? There was a set thing that had to happen,
and they kept extending it because we live in a society where we're like, oh well, we've had them stay here so long,
right? Yeah.
But if they had came in and by the book, we would be against it. I promise you, because when we haven't allowed this, there's been a lot of pushback on requirements to get in. Matter of fact, to this day, we're still talking about increasing how hard it is, but we ain't talking about how hard it is to just hop over a fence.
Right.
It's crazy. It's illogical.
I mean, let's be honest. If you paint the fence black, they can't hop over it during the day.
I saw that. It almost seemed like an Onion story.
It did. I had to look it up because I'm like, that can't be true. It can't be true. I'm like, no, come on, that's bullshit. First of all, we all know that like probably 98% of them come at nighttime when it's not fucking sunny out, anyways, right? So I had to Google that, and then I look and I see Christy I'm doing a press conference talking about painting the fence black, and I go, oh my god, they're actually serious. Which, by the way, that story was blown up a little bit by the left-leaning press because the real reason was to keep it from rusting. Was actually what the real reason was. But Donald Trump, in his infinite interesting personality, did say that. He actually, honestly to God, did say, if you paint it black, it's going to get much hotter, and they won't be able to touch it.
So, Mike, several U.S. states have sanctuary policies, meaning they limit cooperation with federal immigration enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
These states include California, Colorado, Connecticut, Illinois, Massachusetts, and New Jersey.
Yep.
Washington, too. I don't know why I didn't include that. Some cities within these states also have sanctuary ordinances restricting the use of local resources for immigration enforcement. Mike, where's the line here? Are sanctuary policies a legal exercise of state autonomy and local rights, or do they border on unpatriotic, even treasonous, by undermining federal immigration law?
So my belief on this is that it should be illegal, and the reason I say that is because if it's the federal government primarily is to protect the integrity of the country, which includes having a military and a defense to prevent other nations from attacking us and to maintain our border. That was the original definition of a border of a country. So by definition, having a sanctuary city is trying to circumvent that law because you're harboring fugitives, basically. I mean, I don't know how else to say that. Now, it's interesting you bring this up after our prior conversation because I was going to mention that of all the 4 million undocumented illegal immigrants that are in the United States, the vast majority of them, I think near 75% of them, are in only 6 states. So they're not spread out evenly across the United States. They're in 6 states. The breakdown is a little interesting because you've got sanctuary states included in that. New York, New Jersey, California, and Massachusetts are 4 of the states. And then the other 2 are Texas and Florida, probably largely because they're near the border, right? So, but that's where most of the people are now. I've seen some interesting articles recently that they're trying to file lawsuits. I think this particularly will apply to Massachusetts, and saying that the Trump administration is unjustly doing raids and going after illegal immigrants in blue states more than they are in red states. Now, the fact of the matter is that's because, and I don't believe what I hear in the news, so I looked into this. And the reality is they're capturing just as many people in red states as blue states. However, in red states, primarily they're just pulling them out of prison because they're not sanctuary cities, right? They're not sanctuary states. So the federal, ICE can go into the prison or into detention and just take them. And then, so you don't see them so in red states, you're not seeing ICE on the streets like you are in the sanctuary city states, because in the sanctuary city states they got no choice. The only thing they got to raid them on the street. So the liberals have latched onto that and said it's unfair, blah 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 blah. But if you look into the reason behind it, it's because they're sanctuary. That's why.
And let's get into, regardless of our opinions, what the basics are. Okay. So basically, we are arguing the validity or the extent of power of the 10th Amendment. And
Yes.
basically what the 10th Amendment is saying in the most basic terms is the federal government runs this thing.
Yep.
But the state does not have to enforce any of the laws that the federal government says.
Yep.
However, they cannot inhibit the federal government from pursuing laws. So, for instance, here in Washington, weed is legal. But at any moment, if they wanted to, they could send police here and arrest everybody that has marijuana.
Yep.
But there's an understanding that as long as there's no conflict, states do whatever they want. Presidents and during presidential debates, the biggest thing everybody says is, I want to turn this back to the states and let them decide, because we generally do let states decide for themselves. If you study the laws that are passed in states, there are so many contradictory laws from state to state, it would blow your mind.
And by the way, Phil, the irony is typically the right and the conservatives want to turn it back to the states more than the liberal side. So, and there's the irony in this.
Well, and you know the main reason for that, right? Because that state, they would go with what that population's thought is.
Sure.
When it's a federal law generally, it doesn't always reflect what the populace feels.
Yeah, the local populace, right?
Right. Local laws generally reflect what that population feels.
Well, but here's the problem. So I lived in Massachusetts, so I can tell you that Massachusetts, generally, the populace is in support of sanctuary.
Oh, yeah. I lived in Boston too, Mike. In my opinion, Boston may be the most liberal state, especially in the Boston area, because once you get outside of it, it changes.
Agreed. Massachusetts is definitely way up there.
I would
say it's more liberal than California.
By far.
Yeah.
By far.
Yeah.
They were recognizing marriage like a few years before it was passed federally.
Yep.
And I could go on and on.
Sure.
We discussed NPR and PBS before. They are the home of PBS. They created all of these ideas about social issues.
Yep.
Boston is weird.
But having said that, I mean, the people may support it, but the problem is, I still feel that the sanctuary policy goes directly against a federal law that is a federal responsibility. meaning that people coming in illegally from outside of our country, that is a federal problem. That's something that the federal government is tasked with handling, as opposed to the state. I mean, we can't expect the states to border, as an example, Arizona and California, Texas. We can't expect the states to monitor their own border, right? That's the federal government's job.
Mm-hmm.
So thereby, I would say that the federal government's job is to collect and round up illegal people that are not. Look, I think it was Kristi Noem or one of them that said, they were arguing. Some of the reporters were asking her, some of the tactics that they're using and whether or not it's humane, et cetera, et cetera. And she's like, look, I'm going to be the first to tell you, if you don't agree with this, then change the law. All I'm doing here is enforcing laws that are already on the books that, by the way, were put on the books by, quite frankly, both parties. So we're just enforcing it. If you don't like it, go to Congress. Don't go be bitching at Customs and Immigration and ICE and whatnot. They're just doing the enforcement of an already existing law. And as far as I can tell, Donald Trump didn't put any new laws in. There's not really any new laws. He's just enforcing them.
The issue that I have with the whole thing is that they aren't following what the law is. The laws and the amendment are clear. ICE can come in and do what they want. You just don't have to help, but you can't interfere.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Exactly. Yep.
So I don't have no problem with a mayor saying this is a sanctuary state and we ain't having it and we're not going to do this or whatever. But then I have a problem with you going to visit them or blocking ICE
or trying to hide them or whatever else they're doing. Yeah, agreed.
Because I don't want at any time an actual official of my government going on his own. I believe in revolution. I believe in someone standing up for something. All laws aren't right. I believe that they should be fought.
Oh, sure.
But the actual people who are in the government, I want you to stay on with the rules.
So to go back to what you started this conversation with, and we're asking, is it unsafe based on, that guy that killed those people or whatever with the truck or accident. So the whole gist of the problem is when you have people that are undocumented or illegal, when I say we, some form of government has not really had the opportunity to scan them, meaning that there are ways because of the position that they're in to circumvent laws or processes that are in place for us as citizens. So what happens is then you get this is what happens. You get people that are, in the case of that guy, I don't even know if he had a driver's license. You know what I mean? Like we're learned to drive correctly. So the problem is that when you circumvent laws, whether it's one law or two laws, unintentionally you may be circumventing or missing other laws as well. You know what I'm saying? And that's the problem, is that we can't vet people well enough. So like if you and I wanted to become truck drivers, as an example, Phil, they're going to look at our background. They're going to look through all of our documentation. They're going to make sure we have the correct licenses. They're going to do all this stuff. If you come in a month ago illegally, you can't do any of this background. You can't do any of this by definition. But
they don't try to.
I know, and that's where this problem is. And that's my point. So yes, to answer your original question, sure, it makes it less safe. Yep.
I go back to what you said, but just from a different angle. I don't understand how any of this is an argument. Now, I already stated the Democratic Party's strategy and why they do it, but how do they get people to support them? How do they actually get American citizens convinced that they should be a Democrat and vote for policies that go against their own life.
That's called hatred. We've just developed. We've spent a lot of time, effort, and money making people hate the other side for the sake of hating, and they don't. They're not even thinking about it, Phil. They will literally chop your own foot off to support a cause that you don't really have any idea. Look, the reason you're going to support something is because I hate the other guy. I hate Orange Man. I mean, that's the reality.
Mike, offhand, I know you don't know. How much do you think that Hardinger Singh guy was making a year driving that truck?
I'm afraid to ask. I don't know.
Over 60?
Probably.
I'd say 60 to 100. He was long haul, right?
He was an OTR guy, I think. Yeah, I think so. So I think ballpark they're 80 to a 120. No,
I wish they. That's what I thought. The reason I bring it up is there's some liberal out there that's supporting them being here who probably can't go get a trucker job for that kind of money, and it's because it's another guy that's got the job.
Mm-hmm.
That's not qualified. That's not from here. That's not a U.S. citizen. That can't read or write. That can't even tell you what the signs look like.
And
but they'll vote Democrat.
Yeah. And I don't want to turn this into by the way, this is not a Democrat problem. This is a Democrat and Republican. The hatred has been created by both sides. Have equally shared in the process of creating an environment where we automatically jump down whatever the other side is up to.
Well, ultimately, big picture, Mike, I don't believe in either side. They both full of shit. They're both full of shit.
Yeah.
So,
oh yeah.
But at least one is full of shit and they follow a logical path.
Mm.
The other one
right now.
Yeah, right now. Absolutely. I agree with that. But the other one is so on such a farcical, fantastical, whatever you want to call it. They losing their minds, man. It's nothing good I can say about them. It's gotten worse since Trump has become president.
Yes.
It would seem like they would reflect and be like, we looking stupid. We got to change something up. But they are like digging in.
So let me ask you this question. Well, let's hypothetically say that we're Trump's term is almost up, and when we start getting candidates running for president on the other side, where do you think it is right now? If I'm a Democrat and I'm running for president against, say, J.D. Vance, let's say J.D. Vance is the Republican nominee or going to be, and I'm coming up. And the question is asked, are you going to change or rescind Donald Trump's immigration policies? What do you think is going to happen?
Wow. That's a
what
question.
I'm saying? So let's say I'm Gavin Newsom. And I'm one of the Republicans.
Well, he's Democrats. Already kind of backstepping.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, because look. I laugh because all the Democrats always say is they're picking on Trump for being, a womanizer, all this stuff. I mean, not hello, Gavin Newsom. I mean, really? I mean, like that could be your candidate. He may be worse than Trump.
I strongly believe in not judging a book by its cover, but Newsom is the type of dude, and if you disagree, say you disagree, but when there's a bunch of men together, Newsom is the type of dude, when he walks in, half the guys are like, who is this asshole?
Oh yeah. For sure.
I mean, without opening his, he just gives off that kind of air about
it. Yeah.
And then he substantiates it when he talks.
Yes, for sure. But But if you were to ask, well, maybe Gavin Newsom was a bad example. So I don't care. Well, let's say Zoran Mamdani or whatever is running for president of the United States. And they say, are you going to get rid of his immigration policy? Well, what's the guy going to say? Is he going to? What I'm asking is the other party going to come out and say, yep, we're going to get rid of all these policies and we're going to go back to Biden and open the border? Might as well just rip the fence down.
Well, that's what I was addressing when I said they seem to have not learned anything. My impression, my answer to the question is that they doubling down. They're going to be like, yeah, we're going to write an executive order and get rid of it immediately. I could picture them, bro. They don't seem to get it.
Here's the problem. I mean, I think the immigration policy, there's definitely been controversy and argument over the means and some of the methods that they've used. But I think it's overwhelmingly support from the American people that the policy right now or has been super effective. It's literally shut down the traffic.
And Mike, I want to address that. Everything that they're saying about how these immigrants, illegal immigrants, are being treated,
mm-hmm.
that happens to Americans every day.
Mm-hmm.
If you was living in America and you got arrested and you had a family, they'd arrest you, put you in jail. They ain't going to be like, oh no, he has kids. They have to go with him or nothing.
No.
I don't see any difference in the treatment.
No, because it goes back to what you said earlier. It's that, it's that, I don't want to say romantic feeling, but it's that soft-hearted, like these are downtrodden people and we can't beat on them. It's like they've replaced people of color, I'll call them brown people. It's our token. What you said at the top of the show, it's like our token replacement people that are at the bottom,
mm-hmm.
right? I mean, because all the rest of them started getting smarter. You know what I mean? They're like, whoa, wait.
I wanted to be clear
take advantage of here.
I want you to be clear on what's smart. What they realized is not just that they were wrong, that this party, literally everything they do keeps me here.
Yeah, it's designed to keep you at the bottom. And they finally go, wait a minute here. All this shit, this is a bunch of garbage. It's true. Which, by the way, I mean, in fairness, I would tell you that both parties are trying to keep us all at the bottom.
Mike, do you feel like the government has any responsibility in the quality of food that we eat?
All right, I'm going to give you two answers here. As a libertarian, I prefer the government staying out of everything. I mean, that's just me personally. Like I just stay out of my life. Let me make my own choices. If I want to eat glow in the dark orange Cheetos, then let me eat them in private, and I'm going to be okay with it. However, I would tell you, but this is another good example of the liberal side coming out because they hate Kennedy, right? And here's a guy that you might hate him. They hate him for one reason and one reason only, basically, because he's an anti-vaxxer. Okay, but he also happens to be a health nut, and they confuse the two things together. So Kennedy legit wants to make our food supply better. I do. I believe that.
I do too.
But they still hate him because, God forbid, if you do one thing or you sign on to the Orange Man's documentation, then everything that you do is bad. It's just a rule. So the fact that he's trying to get rid of food coloring and the fact that he's trying to make our laws actually, to be honest with you, more aligned with Europe and other places in the world that already don't allow some of this really bad shit that's in our food. I don't think that's a terrible thing. I am a big proponent of free choice, but when it comes to children in particular, they obviously can't make their own decisions well. So, maybe putting a policy in, where you're not loading their school cafeteria full of chemicals and whatnot is not a terrible idea. So,
yeah, because RFK Jr.'s push to ban sugary drinks from food
is good.
All he wants to do, one of the things he wants to do is take sugary drinks off of you being able to take food stamps.
Yes.
And buy it. Now, I can understand a person saying that when a person is down and out and they've reached a point that they're on food stamps, we shouldn't be like limiting what they can or cannot eat. And I agree with that in general principle.
Mm-hmm.
But when we add in that generally the people who are at the bottom financially generally also live in what's called food deserts. And
food deserts, for sure. I see it.
And their options for food are usually only the things with all of these things in them. The only way that it's going to change is for there to be some kind of regulatory or legal device added to this. So
I saw it in real life, Phil. I grew up in a fairly affluent area in Connecticut, and more recently, I lived, in an area which was close to a city, in Springfield, Massachusetts. And I can tell you, talk about a food desert. When you go into, I'll give you, for you East Coasters out there that are familiar with Stop and Shop or Big Y or some of the big grocery store chains that are in the Northeast, if you go into one of those stores in, say, Avon, Connecticut, which is a wealthy town, the food that's in that store is not the same that's in the same branded store that's in Springfield, Massachusetts. It's totally different. The selection of vegetables, not there. You'll notice, and then when they do like pricing, the I call it the end cap pricing of stuff that they, the lead-in stuff. It's always like Chef Boyardee and mac and cheese, and so they unfortunately, what you call a food desert, where people are at a lower income level, they're offered food that is worse for you. And then you've got higher rates of diabetes, higher rates of heart disease, all this stuff, because they're trapped in that. And I agree with you, Phil, without government regulation, this is an example of this. It's pure capitalism. And then, pure capitalism will tell you, look, these people are going to be more inclined to buy a can of Chef Boyardee. So let's sell them that.
So, Mike, if we know sugar drives disease and it drains billions of dollars from the system, shouldn't we be treating it like alcohol or, taxing it high, labeling it clearly, or even getting rid of it? But my idea is unhealthy foods, they should be taxed just like cigarettes and labeled like cigarettes and like alcohol. What do you think about that?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm down here in Mexico, and Mexico actually does a better job of labeling bad foods than America does. So I wish I don't have it here. When you buy, let's say you get a bag of Doritos down here, it's got these big stop signs. They're literally, that's what they are. They're stop signs. And we joke. So we joke all the time that the more stop signs a bag has on it, probably the better it tastes, because there's a stop sign for cholesterol, sugar, salt, saturated fat, right? So like you can get things with 4 big stop signs on them. They do a better job of labeling down here. I'll tell you what, a pack of, like you even look at like cigarettes, they got pictures of like fucking, people's breast cancer with like their skin falling off their body, all sorts of nasty shit. So to answer your question, yeah, I think America has done, and we're behind. America's behind the scenes. Like, even if we're talking about cigarettes for a second, how many countries have banned cigarettes? Period. I think now there's 6, maybe 7 countries that have banned cigarettes. America's behind the 8 ball on this. To be honest with you, we still allow more smoking situations than a lot of countries do. In fact, even comparing Mexico and the United States, surprisingly enough, in America, we associate cigarette smoking with lower income, typically. And if you look at lower income areas, the cigarette smoking rate is higher. Ironically, Mexico, which is at a lower income than America and just in general, has a much lower smoking rate here in Mexico than they do in America. So that's more of an American thing. And why are we doing such a poor job at it? I don't know. I mean, we have taxed the shit out of it, but apparently not enough.
Bro, I'll be looking at the ingredients of some stuff, and I'm like, man, I need to go take a chemistry class to understand what's on here.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff don't even sound like it go together, like sodium phosphate.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And some of the stuff, if you look it up, it comes out as like, the main ingredient in toothpaste or something. You're like, wait a minute here. I'm looking at a bag of Fritos. What do you mean in toothpaste? You know what I mean? Like, there's just so many chemicals.
At least it's related to something else you would put in your mouth. Sometimes it could be like, oh, they use that to plaster walls together.
Yep. And so to circle around on that, I obviously I think this is maybe directed at some of the things that Kennedy has talked about in the Trump administration. I think they're going in the right direction with some of that stuff. But here's the thing: is it also has to be based on science, right? Which I was always a proponent of. On the other side of this, which is the thing that they don't like him about, is the vaccine thing. If it's based on science, so we have like getting a polio vaccination as an example. Like, there's been science over, I don't know, 50 years saying that it's effective, it works, it's eliminated it. Okay, that's called science. I'm in support of it. But when you whack out a COVID vaccine that is not clearly not based on science, we haven't studied it, we haven't tested it. There's no long-term test. There's no document. That's not science. That's just hope and pray. So they're not the same thing. And I think it's true on the food side too. You can't just suddenly say, hey, nobody should eat spinach because it has high in oxalates or whatever, that's bad for you. Well, maybe, but we haven't researched enough about that yet.
Yeah, with the vaccines, I don't like that people are so far on the left or the right, because the only answer to that is
somewhere in the middle.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I do agree that they need to stop just making vaccines for everything and making these cocktails that are like more than one vaccine and all of that type stuff.
Yeah, because we have no idea whether it's doing anything or not.
But on the flip side, I don't want us to not have vaccines.
Of course not.
The people who are arguing against the vaccines,
crazy,
all young people.
Yeah,
because anybody who's at least 60 years old, 50, 60 years old, you probably, as a kindergartner, first 1-year-old, first grade, you may have experienced meeting someone who had polio.
Right.
It's almost just like it doesn't exist anymore now. Yeah. So nobody understands how.
Yeah, you don't want that.
Right.
Yeah, I agreed. I think that there's a time and a place for everything. That's why I said it should be based on science. And it's when we get off course and we get involved in politics of it is where the problem, is unfortunately, that whole thing has been politicized, right? So whether we're talking about whether or not we can have red Fruit Loops or whether we can have a COVID vaccine, it's been politicized so bad that you can barely have the discussion anymore.
I agree. So, Mike, I wanted to end this with letting you know that your girlfriend's album was released this week.
No, not yet.
I just got a note saying it came.
It's October 3rd.
All right. It's your girlfriend. So,
by the way, Phil, I ordered it already. And I ordered it. I'll show it to you. For those of you, I pre-ordered. For those of you that are going to be that watch when it comes time for that week's podcast, I'm going to put it on the screen. So you're going to have to go to YouTube and you can see it. It's orange. It's orange.
So you've forgotten already. You don't know where I'm headed with it. I thought we were supposed to be having a listening party.
We're gonna.
Okay.
In October. And by the way, we'd be remiss if we left the podcast today without sending a shout out to many of our friends. I've got a bunch of friends that are on their way in today into Overland Expo Mountain West. So say hi to everybody there for me. I'm missing you all you guys. And I'd like to say those are my financially moderate financial people of moderate means that are heading to Overland Expo West. My wealthy friends are all on their way in to Black Rock Desert to go to Burning Man. That's where the wealthy folks go. So they're all setting up for that. And we could talk about that another day, but that's the honest to God truth. I think the average price that people are spending to go there now is $5,000. Crazy, fucking insane. But anyway,
we can absolutely talk about that.
So shout out to everybody at Burning Man or moving that way. Burning Man's about to start. I know they're setting up for it now. I hope you have decent weather. I know you won't, but
well, I got the same sentiments I'd like to send out to everybody who spoke to me. It's the weirdest kind of correspondence to have with everybody. Everybody's asking, "Hey, Phil, you going to Expo?" And I feel kind of down. No, I'm not going. It's just a weird emotional experience for me. So I hope the people who do go have a ball. They should.
I know. And the thing I'm missing most, I think, is Big's Meat Wagon probably will be there, Phil. That's our favorite.
The homie.
Our favorite. Oh, gosh. The Meat Wagon. If anybody out there is listening and you're going to Overland Expo in Colorado, hit up the Meat Wagon. You're not going to be disappointed.
And when you find the Meat Wagon, it's going to have the longest line.
Yes.
Do not let that discourage you, because their line actually is faster than the other lines that are real short.
That's true.
And the food is better.
Yep.
And
the entertainment's better too.
I was about to say, should we tell them about the entertainment or just tell them when you get there?
The entertainment's just better. Just trust us on this. Go check it out.
You want to go to the Meat Wagon.
That's right.
Anything else you want to say?
Oh, that's a good ending.
All right, guys. Stay safe, tread lightly, and hopefully we'll see you here on a trail soon.
You have been listening to Waypoint Overland's Random Waypoints. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.